Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, the place to come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 163, What It Means to Be Empowered. Well, welcome to a new month where we're going to spend some time talking about one of my favorite concepts for the show, and that is personal empowerment. That's what owning it is all about. We started out the podcast a few years ago defining this, and yet it's been a while and probably time for a great refresher. So this month, as you get ready for this current season to wind down and the new one to begin, let's take some time to focus in on what it truly takes to feel, look, and be empowered, to be the person you were always meant to be, to feel good in your own skin, and to be living the life that you want to live. Having worked with people for many years around this topic, I have learned a great deal about the necessary components, I think, of a confident, grounded person, someone who has better relationships with themselves and with others in their life. I think it takes identifying what needs learning, what needs healing, and what needs fixing. Then it's lots of practicing new mindsets and new behaviors. I think it also takes a coach. You can't do it alone. And it takes support. It may even take some therapy along the way if there is trauma in the past that needs to be healed. So what do I mean by empowerment? To me, empowerment is standing in our truth. It's making peace with who we are becoming. It means knowing what we believe and value and feel pretty good about that. It's all about owning it. It's about owning our thoughts, our feelings, our needs, our passions. Because these things help to define who we are as a unique individual. I think it often goes hand in hand with our sense of purpose, what our gifts are and what we believe in, what matters, and how we can be a part of something greater than ourselves. The other piece that I've spoken about empowerment in past episodes is it's so important to get in touch with your core self, uncovering your real truth, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the beautiful. And it means honoring it and not being afraid to show it to the world. Often, I think this begins with listening to the voice inside of you. You know, the one where when you don't listen to it, you regret it. This is an internal knowing that can really guide us where we need to go, even if it's only guiding us for the next step today. And then tomorrow you wake up and something feels right to do next. Being empowered to me means that our personal power comes from within, not without. An internal locus of control. It's no longer outsourced to other people's opinions, their appreciation, or their valuation of us, like what they think matters about us. That's about them. I think it means taking responsibility for ourselves, everything about ourselves and our own path, owning our choices, owning our happiness, and not giving that job to someone else, because that's so dangerous. We don't have to give our power away. Knowing that when we hold on to it, we actually are going to empower others. We're going to model healthier behavior. You're better help to others when you help yourself first. So today I want to talk about somewhat of an overview of this month. We're going to be focusing on different things. So each of these we're going to dive in a little deeper, like we normally do. Empowered people, who are they? What are they like? How can you tell? How can you tell if you see one? How can you tell if you're becoming one or that you are one? Empowered people, I think, own their choices. So we're going to talk about that. They don't outsource, like we just mentioned a moment ago. They don't outsource their responsibility for their life, or their freedom, for that matter, of being able to steer how they want their life to go. They own their feelings. They don't act them out. We've talked about that plenty on the show, and we'll always talk about it because it's important. They own their behavior. They say what they mean what they say, and they follow through, even when it's uncomfortable. Empowered people try to use their gifts in good ways. And of course, empowered people utilize good detachment and boundaries and can do the grief work and have emotional maturity because of it. Another episode will focus on my favorite topic, assertiveness, because I don't think that we can be empowered and not be assertive. And assertiveness is a lot of things to a lot of people. I can only share with you what I think it is for me. The biggest one is being emotionally honest and mature, focused on ourselves, no passive-aggressive behavior. You're keeping it about you. You own your feelings. You don't act them out, and you don't manipulate or play victim. You own your truth. You don't put it on anybody else. You're not condescending. You're not focused out there on other people. You make friends with reality. You know you need to ask for what you need. It's your job to say no when appropriate. It's your job to say yes to what you want. You're not giving that job to someone else to take care of you or rescue you or therefore control you. You're just letting other people know about you, and then you let go and they can do whatever they want to do. You let them know what you think, feel, need, maybe what you decided today, what you will accept, maybe what you need to come to acceptance after grieving. You can let appropriate people know your vulnerable things, like what you're afraid of, what you're sad about, or proud of. You're humble, but you're assertive. You're open, you're teachable, and you can say, I'm sorry. And when we really work on assertiveness, we start to value assertiveness in other people. And so there's the other half of the work there too. We want others to tell us what they need. We don't want to engage in passive-aggressive behavior or try to read their mind or glean from their actions that they're pissed off or anything like that. So it's not just assertiveness. It's a whole other paradigm of how to relate and behave in our life and in our relationships. So we're going to talk about that. Another episode we're going to devote to boundaries, because we need to. You can't be empowered and not have good boundaries. In fact, when I work with clients, that's often where we start, because boundary work builds trust within you. If you can't trust yourself to say no to something or someone that's not good for you, then how can you feel empowered and confident when you just went against yourself, right? So boundaries. Learning how to say no, hear no, say no to ourselves, to know what is ours and what belongs to other people and it's not our business. So therefore, working on healthy detachment and acceptance, which involves grief work. If you've been listening to the show, you know that. To build self-trust and to build trust with others. You can't have trust in a relationship without boundaries. I just don't think it's possible. Another part of being empowered and being trustworthy, trusting ourselves, is following through. Taking risks, committing to things. I think it means choosing to say yes to some things and therefore no to others. And that's a risk. And those of you who struggle with perfectionism and decision-making, yeah. That can be a learning curve to get used to following through and taking a risk and trusting yourself a wee bit more. Another aspect of personal empowerment that we'll talk about this month is healing all the necessary pieces. If you have past trauma, old wounds to your self-esteem that you may not even realize are there. I just talked to a client this week about how we can sabotage in such insidious, dirty ways. We will, quote unquote, forget to do something good for ourselves or find reasons why there's no time to do that or why someone else's needs are more important right now. We have to work on our messaging to ourselves, what we think we really deserve, what we don't deserve, like in terms of poor treatment or the way we treat ourselves sometimes or what we allow and put up with. Finding empathy for the self is a big deal. And you've heard me say, once we work on giving empathy to ourselves, we can then give a lot better empathy to others. We can really show understanding and compassion, like genuinely from our heart. And to be able to convey that to others, creating more closeness in our relationships, and I would dare say a hell of a lot more of emotional safety. We can't give another what we don't have. So we can't respect someone's boundaries if we don't have any. And we take their no as rejection or how dare they or don't they understand kind of stuff. We have to know where we end and others begin. That healthy separateness is so necessary. For empowerment, you cannot be enmeshed and have good boundaries. You can't be all up in someone's business and have objectivity in a relationship. Because you've invested yourself in them. And probably lost a lot of who you are in the process. Those of you going through that, you know what I'm saying. Healing old tapes, healing old wounds, healing ways you may have let yourself down over the years. Not had the courage to follow through on a dream, let's say, to say no to something that was bad for you, to say yes to something that could have been really good, but you were afraid. Healing the anxiety, the depression, the trauma, all of that is so necessary for us to feel empowered. So we're going to talk about that in one episode. And then finally, we're going to have an interview with someone about how to empower our kids, specifically our adolescents, because adolescence is when developmentally we're trying to figure out who we are, separate from our parents. Or at least that's the goal. Up until our mid-20s, what we like, what we don't like, what we think matters, what we believe about ourselves. Who are we? What are our talents? What do we suck at? Like, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Who are we separate from others? And what groups or community we do want to belong to and why? Adolescence and our early 20s are there for us to figure that out, but a lot of people don't, or they only do it half-assed because a lot of people were parentified. They skipped over phases because they were too grown up when they were 10 and when they were 15. Maybe they just pushed for adulthood to get out of the house. So not everyone gets the opportunity to go find out who they are. But if we didn't do it then, we're doing it now. And we'll probably do it the hard way. That's what the midlife crisis is all about. That's what the big upheaval in your life at 32 is all about, if you're a woman. Identity. Empowerment is knowing who you are. And if you have teenagers or will have teenagers someday soon, we're going to talk with him about how to empower your kids and not controlling them. When I work with clients, invariably, as they heal a lot of things within themselves, heal things about their own childhood, let's say, work on their self-esteem, work on how they treat themselves and how they look at life and what matters, they organically look at their kids and say, oh no, Mary, I'm doing the same thing to them my parents did. Help me stop. So that's why I want to have a guest on and talk about that, because that way at least you can change your family tree. And if they're not your kids, maybe they're your nieces or nephews or your friends' kids. We can always influence young people in our life. We can find opportunities. So today we revisited my favorite topic of personal empowerment and what it means to me. And all month we're going to talk about all the pieces, including how empowered people have certain qualities, I think, that enable them to feel confident and to be authentic, to put their real self out into the world. Each week we're going to talk about just how important these are and how to work on them. Thank you so much for joining me today. May you hang out with us this month, and whatever pieces resonate with you, I hope you grab a coach to do some work on it. This change is so possible, and I have the honor of seeing that transformation in my clients, and their lives completely change. It's amazing. It's worth it work. If you don't have the newsletter, go to ownitpowercast.com and sign up for that. It comes out each Tuesday with any bonus downloads from the episodes and all the other great info. All right, so pay it forward, keep focusing on you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you could begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.